Okay, gang, this is my second vlog here, and what I'm going to go over today is a drawing I did for a guy named Liam, who has this channel, a YouTube channel, and he contacted me after seeing my first video, which is really cool of him. His name is Liam Pineiro. I hope I'm saying that correctly. This is the guy, this is his site right here. So Leo, this guy here, well, what I've been doing lately is just going over different ways of doing caricatures and character designs and things like that. And with Liam's particular look, he's a young guy, you know, he looks kind of like a young Marlon Brando. So I wanted to do something a little different than what I normally do, so I decided to do some sketching. And usually what I do if I'm going to do a sketch of somebody, I do something that's kind of an exploratory thing. So here's a picture of one of the sketches I did, but I just wanted to get like the feeling of his personality. And a lot of times when I'm doing the drawings, I'm actually not trying to do a nice drawing, and this isn't a very large sketch, I'm just doodling, but what I'm doing is learning their features. So if I do a drawing, like let's say, you know, if you look at, he has kind of a long neck, and he has, at least in this particular image, it really stood out to me. So I pick the things that kind of stand out, and then I start playing with them. So he has thick eyebrows, he has a very strong brow ridge, and he has full round kind of lips, and he has a very strong chin, and very high forehead with kind of an old style hair, you know, with a mini pompadour going there. So very interesting character to draw. So, and I will get into Photoshop here and kind of show you. So here's the sketch I started with. And what I did was, the photo I started drawing from was so clear. So here it is. This is what I started with. And again, one of the things I want to stress here is you don't have to really be able to draw well. It's more about seeing. So if you can see something, you know, you can comprehend, okay, what is it about this image that looks interesting? Well, you know, what stands out? What can I push? What can I shrink? What can I, you know, pull? What can I exaggerate? And the first thing I notice is his eye line and his nose. So I always kind of look for like those facial features like that stand out, and how they relate to each other in terms of, you know, relationship size and like the anchor points of the face that I can use to really define the feeling of his character. So he has strong cheekbones here, and to me, I saw this shape as with a strong jawline, and versus the length of his neck and his forehead, I wanted to de-emphasize his face by shrinking it versus the exaggerated. So I exaggerated his hair and his forehead. So I'll show you the image I came up with. So that's kind of what I came up with. That's the end result. So I'll kind of go through my process now so you can see it's actually pretty easy to do. So like starting from an image here, I started tearing off pieces. Like here's a piece of his neck, I lengthened it. Here's another one, like so with this throat line. There's his, you know, normal face, and then I took pieces and cut it up and then layered them on top of each other. And I use this tool, if you're not familiar with it, most of you probably are, but like if you grab the image and you hit Apple T, you can scale. So like here I can scale the image the way I want to, and then what I do is I'll take, like say this piece, hit enter to get out of that. So let's say, I'll turn that off. So I like this part of his face, right? I want to take this part and cut it out and push it. So I'll use M and grab, actually let's redo that. M, and then just click drag a square. Then I hit Apple C, Shift Apple V, and then it pops a new little bit over here, right? So you can turn this off and see it. So then I'll grab this and then I'll scale it. Like something like that, right? Now maybe you don't want to scale everything uniformly. And this is just for, just to show you, but I usually do get into the pieces of the face. So I'll like hit this thing called the warp tool, excuse me. And, you can do all kinds of cool stuff. Like I could push it way out like this. I could give him kind of a reverse thing. And just hit Apple Z. Okay, and then if you don't like it, you just hit Apple Option Z, and it goes back. So again, I'll start off with, let's say I want to kind of skew down here and add a little dimension. So I'll kind of pull this out in the perspective, then switch to warp, and then pull that in, pull this out, something like that. Squish down the brow. You can give like a complete, actually take one, like a face, and change the whole character if you like. Still looks like him, but it's tweaked like that. So then I have I kind of warped his face a little bit. So, but what I did with this one, turn this off, is I added a bunch of little pieces and started cutting and pasting. So I cut out this one and lengthened it a little, and then I took his face and I warped it and brought it to the center, pulled his jaw down, and then I just added them all on top of each other, and I came up with a rough, proportion of what I wanted. And then I went back on top and actually did some coloring. So if you see, there's the image there, so I'll turn these guys off. And then I'll turn this one on. This is all the artwork. So you can see, and I'm actually really bad at organizing. I usually just go for it. But I went through and named these so I can kind of show you what I did. I usually almost always put the eyes on a separate layer, just because I like having the control to go back in and edit them. And then here's the skin layer. So there's the skin right there. I just, since he's fair skinned, I wanted to go with something kind of neutral. And for the background, you can see this here. I just went onto his website and took some images, and you can actually see I messed up here. You see the ear, that's actually from him, an image I took. And I just put a simple shadow layer on it, and then you see here it's yellow. I just multiplied this. I'm sure I screened it, which makes it kind of brighter, like it's kind of luminescent. And I put the shadow in there specifically because I wanted to make sure that he stands out from the background, because I didn't want it to get too washed out. And here's the BG here, right there. So I just took an image and I filtered it. So if you just go up to something like, go to the filter gallery, and you can, you see something like that. There's the actual image. So you can see all the stuff. He's hiding a lot of this stuff. But what I used was poster edges, and I think I might have used photocopy. This is in negative right now, but you can come up with some very cool, simple stuff with that. Stamp is great. So if you want to get like a real graphic look, and then I just added this over and hit screen, and then added this over and then turned down the opacity to so you could still see through it. And that's how I did it. Very simple. And if you get a little frustrated, one of the things I suggest is finish your drawing. Start it off, and even if you I don't really like this, it's a good idea to carry it all the way down to the final, get it all the way finished, because sometimes it'll come out better than you think. And if anything, when you're doing that, you're learning their face. You're learning what to emphasize, what not to emphasize. And if you do a first pass on something and then you just keep quitting, you're never really gonna, get used to finishing them. So I did one recently and I didn't really like it, but I finished it, and I did a little this is my first podcast, actually, the one I did for Sonny, the German guy who lives in Thailand. And I want to do another one because I kind of broke one of my major rules that whenever I do these, I never like to do straight on shots, because you lose the dimension, the three-dimensionality, because you don't have things protruding and everything looks even. Like here you see he's 3/4, so I got a lot of stuff to grab onto, and I think it came out pretty good. I think I captured him pretty well. And again, when I, like when I started it, I I knew right away what I was trying to capture because I had a really good image of him that I found on his YouTube channel, and then I did my exploratory sketching, just like I said, trying to learn his face, seeing what stood out, and where I could put the negatives, because part of being a good artist or a good illustrator or whatever is knowing what to leave out. So, I didn't put any necklines or any kind of detail that in some of the stuff in the face I left out because I wanted to emphasize what was important, which was his facial features, and then I used these big negatives to kind of lead your eye there and all that kind of good stuff. But that's pretty much it. And if you guys have any comments or any questions, please leave them in the comments below. And if you'd like to see me caricature one of your favorite YouTube people that you follow, or celebs or whatever they call them, just let me know, and I'll definitely get to it. All right, thanks.